Hey everybody, and welcome to Hell is for Children. This show is on every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 2100 hours Central European Time. My name is Geerte Frenken, and this show is all about the topic of protective mothers and their children. So what's a protective mother? A protective mother tries to protect her child or children from their abusive father by many means necessary, which is an uphill battle in today's global corrupt family court system that thrives on paternal entitlements. And today's guest is protective mother Davida Sanchez, who lost custody of her son Jack when her children reported physical, sexual, and emotional abuse by her abusive ex. When attempting to flee to protect Jack, as advised by CPS, Davida was caught and thrown in jail, where she was so severely abused that she almost died. I'm very honored to have her on as a guest today. This is very brave to share this story. So welcome to Hell's for Children, Davida.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't we start at the beginning and share what led up to this awful situation that you find yourself in today.
After 16 and a half years of being married, I just finally came to the point I couldn't do it anymore. It was affecting my kids. And this is the first time I really noticed it was affecting my kids. Like most women, I had no idea my children were being abused too. I naively thought because he was hurting me, verbally abusing me, my kids were in some way being safe because I was taking the brunt of it. And that was not the case. I confronted him one day because he was abusing my oldest son. My oldest son looked emaciated when I seen him last. He was away at college, and my mother came with me. And so I had somebody else in the house, and the behavior is always different when there's somebody else in the home. And my mom came for my son's birthday, and she said, which was out of character for her, she goes, "I'm just going to stick around for a couple of days if you don't mind." I said, "Oh, okay." During that next couple of days, basically all hell broke loose. I confronted him about receipts that I'd found. He was pulling out massive amounts of money that I had no idea about because he fully controlled everything in the house, controlled gas, groceries, doctors, visits, everything. We lived out in the country. We had no interaction with other people either. It was full control. And I had no idea how bad it had gotten until an outside person had come in and started pointing things out about, "Davida, this isn't normal. People don't live like this." And even pointing out the basics of just taking a step back and looking at how my home environment was, that when it came time for him to come home from work, my entire house would shut down. The TVs would shut off, the radio would shut off, we would all go to rooms and lock the doors, including my dog even reacted. My dog would go to the bottom of the stairs and wouldn't come back upstairs at all when he was home. These kinds of things I just didn't even notice had changed. And when I saw my oldest son emaciated because of my husband's funneling of excessive amounts of money, I think about $7,000 a month he was pulling out, and we were living poverty. I had to beg for a gallon of milk for my children. So the day that everything kind of just hit the fan is when I confronted him about this extra receipts that I'd seen and how my son looked. Everything came together at the same time. And within 24 hours, I finally just said, "That's it, I'm done." I made some phone calls to family and said, "Can me and my kids come stay with you?" And my mom says, "I'm staying here until you're out of the house." And that morning, my mother walked into the room as he was raising his hand. And he's a big man. He's 6'2". I'm 5'6". He's nearly 300 pounds. He's got a lot of size on me. He'd raised his arm up like he was going to hit a man. And I didn't see it. And my mom gasped in the background. And when I turned to look at him, that's when I caught it. And I went, "I'm not safe here anymore." That's why I didn't stay in the house. I packed up my kids, packed up my house, and I moved away. I moved to the state of Oregon because I was living in Washington at the time. It's only an hour distance away. Seriously. And but that's when everything just went berserk. He sent me a message. This is where it began. I received a text message the day that he realized I moved out of the house. It says, "I did not give you permission to leave." And that's when it really hit me. I'm not his wife. I'm his property. And my kids were reacting in certain ways, which I was starting to notice, like my son Tyler. He's my middle son. I have Tim as the oldest, Tyler, and then Jack. Tyler started being extremely protective over Jack, where whenever he'd have a visit with his dad, he was like just, I mean, hovering over his little brother. Wouldn't let my ex-husband Eric hold him, anything. And I was like, that's really odd. But now when I look at everything, it's because I wasn't there to protect my children anymore. Tyler stepped up to protect his brother because he knew what kind of abuse he'd received. The thing is, we all together, me and my children, we never really talked about the abuse I got or the abuse they got because we just assumed it was just us. And after we got to a place where we felt safe and we started counseling, a lot of this stuff started to come out. Unfortunately, I'd already filed for divorce in the state of Washington because that's where our house was, and he just went after me with a vengeance. He found the most wicked attorney in the area who will just, is cutthroat, and she is very well known for lying and being unethical and changing the judge's orders, mind you. She will slip in all sorts of things underneath the judge, and he just blindly signs it every time. And I'll object.
What was the name of that attorney?
His attorney is named Alex Steide out of Cowlitz County, Washington, and we've had two judges on our case. Judge Stephen Warning was the first one, and then when it went to trial, my divorce went to trial, it was Judge Michael Evans. And so when I first filed for divorce, he was still contacting my mother because I had blocked my phone in so many different ways because I was getting really aggressive messages from him. And on the visits kept getting worse and worse. The more I would take the kids to see him, the more aggressive he was getting towards me. And then I finally put a restraining order against him. Then he started flipping to being more aggressive towards the kids, where he's actually trying to physically attack our teenage son. I mean, hanging off the side of my car, punching the side of my window, trying to get to him. Horrible things like this. And my son was trying to say something, but he just couldn't because nobody was listening. I was so wrapped up in being drugged to court literally every 2 weeks. I was doing a deposition back and forth, because he was trying to take everything from me, whether it was money or my children. Every 2 weeks, I'm fighting for my life every 2 weeks. And this went on for over 2 years of being dragged back and forth to Cowlitz County. And I'm 2 hours away from that county. So it's nearly a 5.5-hour round trip, including traffic. I did this every 2 weeks. We got into it. It was just horrific. It's exhausting. And I was told I'm not allowed to show emotion. Because that will just make the judge mad. I'm told I'm not allowed to complain about any kind of so-called abuse. It's not so-called abuse. There's actual documentation, not just my word, police reports, doctor's reports, psychologist reports. This is ridiculous. And so, unfortunately, I filed for the restraining order here in Oregon, because that's where I live. And the judges in Washington refused to enforce it. His attorney tried to get that Judge Warning, to remove it. And I kept pointing out, I'm not safe. I need to have somebody else come with me. Judge Warning put me in an extremely unsafe position. And after the attack on Tyler, where Tyler felt so threatened in a Ruby Tuesdays restaurant, he only had the kids for about 10 minutes total, and he attacked Tyler again. And Tyler picked up a butter knife off of the table to defend himself, while he also reached into his pocket, pulled out his cell phone, and called 911. This is our son calling 911. He felt that he needed help right then. And he called me on the phone after he called 911. He says, "You need to come and get me. He's threatening me." And so I turned my car right back around, drove right back to the restaurant where they were, but I was not allowed to go inside. I had to sit outside and tell my son, "You have to come to me." This is unreal that I'm not allowed to protect my child. It's a grown man attacking a child with at the time, my son Jack was only 2. And he's witnessing all of this. It came to the point where my kids would be so upset that Tyler actually became, he had an eating disorder because of all the stress he was going through by having to visit his dad twice a week and trying to protect his brother. He started throwing up. Every time he'd get stressed out to the point where it got so bad he was vomiting blood. And I'm taking him back and forth to the hospital. And by court order, I had to notify my ex-husband that Tyler is sick. But every time I notified him that Tyler is sick, he took that as a weakness and attacked me even more. So this went on for 2 years, and we were supposed to go to mandatory counseling, mandatory separation, all of these mandatory things the court here has these stipulations for. My ex-husband refused every single one of these mandatory things to the point where it finally went to trial. And outside of the courthouse, I ran into him and I told him, he said, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. I said, okay, but you're not going to talk to me like you used to. I'm not your wife. You're not going to belittle me and bash me anymore. If you want to talk like a grown-up, then talk to me. But you cannot talk abusive to me because I will get in my car and I will leave. He came up to me and he says, he started off with that sweet tone that they usually do to get his way. And then when he didn't hear me reciprocating the way I used to, because I'd gotten stronger during those 2 years, he basically just directly told me, he says, when this is all said and done, Davida, you wish to God you had taken whatever the fuck I felt like giving you. And I naively responded, you can't do that. There are laws that protect me and protect the kids. I have rights. I've been in this marriage for 16 years. I'm not leaving homeless and without my children. There's laws. He laughed and he walked away. And that was a huge turning point where I look back on that moment and go, oh my God, I had no idea. We went to trial, and there was a guardian ad litem put on the case. A guardian ad litem is a ridiculous person that they add to your case in Washington State. They take a 2-day class, which is very, very simple, and pay about $100, and they can be a guardian ad litem. These people are allowed to make life-altering, changing decisions for your children. The woman who was put on our case as the guardian ad litem, her name was Amy Wade. Amy Wade basically would step into these kinds of things to get a new star put on her name, that she does this, she does that. Basically, she's an attorney, though, to begin with. So she met with my ex-husband first and found him to be charming. I'm quoting her words. And from that point on, her mentality was against me with a vengeance. She met with my ex-husband, his family, for hours upon hours at his house where he moved back into the home that I'd moved out of after me making it look like a home. So he looked very well put together. I'm in a small rental, which is all I could afford, and I did the best I could. And she came and she critiqued every single little thing about me, my children, my home, and she was only there for 45 minutes. 45 minutes she spent with me, and hours she spent with him, and she instantly went in his favor. And that's what she came back with based on talking to my ex-husband. They came up with a point that I am emotionally poisonous to my children. That was her answer to everything of why my kids didn't want to be around my ex-husband, who was abusing the hell out of every single one of us, including the dog. And I contacted her over and over again because she's supposed to be a third party that works for the children. She never worked for my children. She worked for my ex-husband. She met with Tyler for a few minutes. She met with Jack for a few minutes. And she met with my oldest son, Tim, for a few minutes. And she had already made a decision, though, before she even came to my home. We hadn't seen her in a year before trial came. When trial came, she showed up and gave me this dirty look, and then went over and was hugging and laughing and joking with my ex-husband's family like she was bestest friends with him. And I was just appalled. This is supposed to be a person who stands for my children, for the best interest of the kids. This is not a, how do you say, like in middle school where girls want to be the most popular. It's not about who's the most popular. It's who's the best for the children. And her comments of saying I'm emotionally poisonous, she had no background in psychology, no background in child abuse, no background in domestic violence, no background in anything to know these signs of how my kids were reacting to an action of my ex-husband. And instead, she took his word, well, it must be me. So I'm the scapegoat for everything. And in the paperwork, she tried during the first year to have my son Tyler removed and had him sent to foster care. Let me give you a little background on Tyler. Tyler has never been in trouble. He's never been suspended from school. He's never even had detention. He's a good kid. Even now, he's 18 years old. He still is a good kid. He just got his diploma on his own. He's busted his butt through everything he's been through to make it. And I'm thrilled for him. He's a great kid. He's a very kind-hearted and very protective kid because of what he's been through. And this guardian ad litem said the only reason he doesn't want to deal with his father is because of me and my emotionally poisoning of him. She took him away for 3 months. My ex-husband didn't want him. He just didn't want me to have him. So for 3 months, my son Tyler, who has the stomach issues and OCD and PTSD, was sent away to live with one of my relatives up in Washington, about 6 hours away from me. My ex-husband didn't make any effort to contact him, to talk to him, to anything. He just didn't want me to have him. And then it came to the point where Tyler received a phone call from Amy Wade, and Tyler was pissed because he knows she's the reason he left. And the way that he left was by force. They told me if I didn't have him on a train by 10 o'clock the next morning, there would be a warrant out for my arrest. So I had to take my son to the train station. In less than 24 hours of me finding out that I didn't have custody of him anymore. And Tyler took it very well, considering he just came back and he says, "Mom, I can tell something's wrong. What's going on?" I said, "I need you to sit down. I have to talk to you." And he says, "Did you lose Jack?" And I said, "No, I didn't lose Jack." He goes, "Then why are you upset?" I said, "Tyler, because I lost you." He goes, "What does that mean?" I said, "That means you have to go live in Washington until I can fight to get you back. And I won't stop fighting. I'll come back and I'll get you. I swear, Tyler." So he said his goodbyes to the family and to Jack, and he left on the train. During that 3 months, his health got a lot worse. He wasn't getting proper medical attention, and the doctor that did actually see him almost killed him by giving him 2 prescriptions that are not supposed to be taken together. Thank God Tyler was a difficult child and refused to take both medications because he would have gone to sleep and never woken up. 3 months it took for me to fight to get Jack back, and Judge Warning gave me, to get Tyler back. Judge Warning gave me Tyler back after 3 months. My ex-husband still made no effort towards Tyler, and then his attorney flipped everything and said, and I'm using her in quotations because what she commented, "Tyler is a complete and total loss." That's what she said in court. And I had a real hard time holding it together because my children are not a total loss. My children are not a loss at all. My children are my heart and my soul. And we're all under attack. So a few months after Tyler came back, my divorce proceedings finally went to trial. And that's when my ex-husband had flipped everything. And all the paperwork, for those 2 years, he never asked for the kids. He asked for the house, he asked for all sorts of things, but he never asked for the children. The day of the trial, I was informed he changed his petition to ask for full custody of Jack, with me having supervised visits, and for Tyler to go to foster care until he turned 18. I was appalled, and I was so sick to my stomach. It was like I was on sedatives for anxiety the whole time. We get to this trial, and it's a new judge, Judge Evans, Michael Evans, the first time I'd ever seen him. And his attorney pulled every underhanded move she could. She brought up every unethical trick that she'd pulled before. When the last judge had made orders on certain things, she would take it and she would volunteer to write it up. Every time she would write it up, she would add stuff to it and add stuff to it, add stuff to it. So by the time I got to my trial for my divorce, I'd had a few instances where I stood up to protect my kids. One of them was my ex-husband showed up to pick up Jack for an overnight visit, and the car seat was not attached properly. And I'd never seen this car seat before, so it wasn't for me to help. And he's yelling, screaming, cussing, and threatening me about it. And I said, "Listen, if you can't figure it out, go to the fire department. They'll help you set it up. When this car seat is safely installed, you come back and let me know, and then you can take Jack." An hour later, he came back. The car seat was properly installed. He was really snide about things, which made me kind of really wonder what's he up to next. Well, he pulled me back into court. For me, trying to be protective to make sure my son is in a safe car seat that is attached properly, that doesn't move 12 inches side to side, front to back, I got a contempt order. I was also fined $2,000. And this is the kind of stuff that happened. But when this contempt went into this courtroom and this judge gave me a contempt, his attorney, Alex Stivey, she rewrote it so it looks like I have 3 contempts now. The judge didn't read any of the paperwork. He just signs it, like Cowlitz County is known to do with this specific attorney.
And I want to add something to that, because for all the European viewers who are watching right now, they're so unfamiliar with the fact that attorneys are actually summarizing what happens during a hearing. That's not allowed. In Europe, there's, a neutral person writing down what's going on and submitting it. But
that's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be. But in the United States, usually what happens in the family courts is that one of the attorneys, and it's usually the attorney for the father, will write up the conclusions of the hearing and submit that for the findings and orders of the hearing. Yeah.
So she's done this the entire time. She's always volunteered, and the reason she volunteers is because she's screwing me more.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where they kept taking more and more money from me, and I couldn't afford an attorney anymore. And that's exactly what she was shooting for, because then she slammed me to the floor. And so this final judge with the divorce decree, he took everything from me, absolutely everything. He took the house, gave it to my ex-husband. He took all the assets, gave it to my ex-husband. Basically, he left me with a storage facility full of furniture and no home. I went from almost $3,000 a month of child support and spousal support when my ex-husband makes nearly $100,000 a year.
Wow.
$411. That's what I receive. So I lost my home, and everything went to storage. He received everything, absolutely everything. And so I wasn't looking at the stuff anymore. I was fighting for my children, fighting for my life like I'd never thought I'd have to fight before. He never showed interest in the kids the entire time he lived with us. He never wanted the kids. It was just specifically to destroy me more. And so with Tyler, I didn't even think that they were going to take Jack. I was scared for Tyler because I've heard horrible stories of awful things happening in foster care. And Tyler doesn't deserve that just because he stood up to his father. And what he did, this is what he did wrong in their eyes. Tyler said to his father one day, "Unlike my mom, I'm not afraid of you. You're not going to hurt my fucking family anymore. You understand me? You're not going to hurt my mom. You're not going to hurt my brothers. And you're sure as hell not going to hurt me." He goes, "Because I'm big now." This was a 15-year-old child. And
well, good for him. Good for him for standing up for his mom and for himself and for Jack,
Yeah. And that's the day that my ex-husband decided to take what meant the most to us, which was Jack. Jack is a huge blessing. He is my child through IVF, in vitro fertilization. He's from a donor that I chose out of Southern California, who has a Spanish descent, just like I do.
Let me show a picture. I'll share the screen, and I'll show a picture of Tyler and Jack here together.
Oh, that's Tim, my oldest son.
That's Tim. Okay. I'll get the other picture while you're talking.
Tim and Jack, and my boys were there when Jack was born. Basically, my ex-husband was fixed in 1998, and we weren't going to have any more children after Tyler. Tyler's our child together. Many years into our marriage, my ex-husband decided to have multiple affairs, and he was caught. And I very dumbly, naively, I'd like to say, took him back based on promises of him being a better person and a better father and the person that we deserved. And when I did that, he voluntarily, he spoke up and he says, I'm willing to have another child. I said, "Where's this coming from? You've never been more willing to have a child." He goes, "And if you want to use a donor, that's fine with me," which was very odd too. And here's the thing though, once I went through the 2 years of medical procedures, IVF is very difficult. This is Tyler and Jack together. This is when we were actually on the run. And they were happy. This is a few of the last pictures, actually. when I went through the 2 years of in vitro and finally had gotten the news that I was pregnant, my ex-husband, Eric, he tells me, okay, now we're even. I said, excuse me? He says, now we're even. He goes, I had an affair, now you're having a baby. He goes, there, I'm sorry. I was so disgusted. You don't apologize with a person, you sick bastard. From that moment on, Jack was mine, just mine, because he's not an apology. He's a person. And I had, during the pregnancy, he got more abusive. He actually hit me in the stomach a few times and I was hospitalized because the baby stopped moving. And I submitted all of these records. I told the guardian ad litem all of this, and they still flipped everything. She knew everything. She knew about the times he tried to literally murder me, the times I went to work with giant bruises on my legs and bruises on my hands and my wrists, and the threats that he'd made to me. She flipped it all because she found him charming. So none of it mattered. And I had years of documentation. So my trial finally goes to trial in November of 2014. And 3 weeks later, I got an email with the judge's order saying that he wasn't taking Tyler to foster care, but they were taking Jack based on the guardian ad litem's testimony. Thing is, Tyler has been in counseling now during this period of time where he finally had a counselor he liked and wanted to go see. He was starting to speak up more. And so right around the time my divorce went final is when Tyler finally broke down this giant wall and told his counselor that his dad has not only been physically abusing him by beating on him, which caused his ocular migraines and whatnot, but was also had been sexually molesting him since he was 7 years old. And I spoke up and tried to tell the guardian ad litem, and I tried to tell the judges, and I tried to say anything, and nobody would listen to me. And a friend of mine, Kim Caskey, she used to be my real estate agent and a good friend of mine, she thought I was going through just the worst hell of my life, and she says, Davida, I have a sister who works for CPS. Her name is Stacy Johnson. I'm going to have her call you because maybe she can help you to get your kids safe. I said, I would be so grateful for that. Thank you so much. So that night, I get a phone call from Stacy, and she pretends to be my new best friend. Tells me everything that is going to be okay. I'm going to fight for your children. I'm going to make sure that we get an order and save your kids. You're not going to have to hand him over to that. That is ridiculous. The thing is, with Tyler making this making this statement that his dad had been abusing him, he said this to a mandatory reporter. Counselors here are mandatory reporters. She contacted the local police department, who then contacted me and asked to interview Tyler. He says, Tyler's not in trouble, you're not in trouble, but a mandatory reporter called me and I need to interview Ty. So 2 days before that, I got in the news about me losing Jack. They were making me hand him over on Christmas Eve, mind you, too. So I take Tyler down to the local police department and he gets interviewed for a little over an hour. And then the police officer comes back out and he says, Davida, can I speak with you separately? I go into the other room and he tells me, he says, Tyler asked me not to tell you details because he's afraid you'll lose it. But he was not just physically abused, he was sexually and emotionally abused as well by your ex-husband. And I just broke down. Instantly, my fear is if he will hurt the child we have together, who is his son, what do they think he's going to do to the child that's not his? It scared me to death. So I'm on the phone constantly with CPS, well, Stacy Johnson from CPS in Cowlitz County. What do I do? Please help me. Somebody please help me. Then I get a notice I'm being evicted because I can't pay the rent. And I totally understand. They have to be able to pay their mortgage and whatnot. So I am told I have 4 days to move. So during those 4 days, I'm dealing with the police telling me that Tyler's been abused. Tyler breaking down continuously, having to empty out my house and looking at losing my son, Jack.
Oh, it's insane. This is insane.
So we have a U-Haul out in the driveway, which is a moving truck that you can rent here. And I've got about 15 people out there helping me to load everything up as fast as possible because I have a time limit and I want to make sure the house is clean too. And I see a sheriff's department vehicle pull up, and there's a woman who gets out of the car, opens up the back door. I'm looking through my kitchen window, and I see all of this. And she pulls a monkey, stuffed monkey, and sticks it under her arm and then starts to walk towards the house. I heard Tyler, because he's outside loading from the garage. She says, is there a David Sanchez here? And Tyler right away, he goes, her name's Davida. And she goes, yeah, her. I need to speak to her. And he goes, well, what do you need to speak to her about? I could hear him arguing with her. And I went, oh, crap. Something bad's going to happen. So he goes, I'll get her. You just wait there. She came up to the porch, and I could see her moving around. Tyler came in through the side door, and he says, Mom, what the hell is she doing here? I said, Tyler, I'm assuming that with that stuffed monkey in her arm, she's trying to take Jack.
Yeah.
So, like in a matter of minutes, it all happened really fast. But I hear her banging on the door. She's very aggressive. And she starts to threaten me, basically, that she's just here to do her job. And I'm like, good for you. I'm doing my job. I'm his mother. I'm protecting my child. I'm not giving you Jack. She says, I have a court order. I said, I don't give a damn what you have. I'm his mother. I'm going to protect my child. You have an issue with this? Contact the detective who just took my other son's statement saying that his dad was abusing him for years. You're not taking my son. So while I'm standing there arguing with this woman about not handing over Jack, Tyler and my other son, Tim, grabbed Jack, hopped the back fence, and took off.
Yes.
They're like, screw this, you're not taking him. There's no way in hell you're taking him. So she's in the house, she's threatening me. And I look around, I'm like, it got real quiet all of a sudden, and my dog's looking up at me with this confused look, like, where the hell did everybody go? Because everybody had just bolted. And this woman is like, pulls out her flashlight, and she's like, I'm going to search the house. I said, go ahead, search the house. It's daylight. This idiot goes room to room, closet to closet with a flashlight. Turn the lights on. And she says, you did something. I've been standing here with you the entire time. How the hell did I do anything? She goes, well, where's the car seat? I said, in the damn car. Did the car leave? Did I leave? Have I left this room with you? She goes, well, you did something. Okay, yeah, I magically did something. She says, you are purposely stopping me from doing my job. I said, lady, you're purposely stopping me from doing mine. My God-given right is to protect my children. If you've got a problem with that, tough shit. I said, now, if you're done harassing the hell out of me and threatening me about being arrested, unless you're going to start packing boxes, I have to move. So I'd like it if you either help or get the hell out. She left. But police continue to come back every single day for the next few days. And they're catching me and they're like, well, you don't seem to be that upset. I'm like, lady, I haven't slept in 3 days. What do you mean I'm not upset? The thing is, the truth is, I didn't know where my children were, but I knew they were together. And I know my boys love Jack with everything they have, like I love them. They would never let it happen.
They actually took off for days on end?
They took off for 3 weeks.
Wow.
I didn't see them for 3 weeks. And then my mom, she says, Davida, I'm not going to tell you where they are, but I'm going to tell you that they're okay because you need to stop crying. You need to sleep. I said, I can't. They're my kids. It's like ripping my heart and soul out of my body, expecting me to still walk and act normal. She says, listen, they need clothes and they need food. This is what you need to do. You need to pack it up and you just stick it in the kitchen and just leave it there. Okay. So I went to the store. I picked up anything I could that I could think of. And I came back and I sat on the kitchen floor and then I left. And I came back an hour later and everything was gone.
Oh,
middle of the night, about the third week, my mom says, Davida, go get in my truck. I said, why? She goes, we're going to go so you can see the boys. My boys were in another city about 45 minutes away from the house that they ran away from. They were staying with a distant relative that I really don't talk too much. All the curtains were closed. They were living like they were in a cave. But Jack was taken care of. He was so happy to see me. He goes, Mama, I love you so much. He goes, I'm tired. I want to go home and sleep with you. He was 4. So I'm talking to Stacy Johnson the entire time this is going on, and I didn't tell her I knew where the kids were. I kept saying, I don't know, because I didn't up until that one night. And Stacy told me, she says, Davida, I'm all out of ideas. The best thing you could do is take your kids and run. Take your kids and run someplace you feel safe. She goes, and I will contact you and let you know when I finally gotten a court order to stop all of this so that your kids are permanently safe with you where they belong. You're such a good mom. I wish I had other moms like you. So I made a decision. And it was a hard decision to make because I've never been in trouble. The most I've ever done was I got in-house suspension in high school for leaving campus when I wasn't of age to leave campus. I got a parking ticket in 1997. I'm not a bad person. I'm a mom. I talked to my counselor. I talked to my pastor. I talked to this CPS worker, and I finally decided to pick up my kids and leave. So I told my mom, I said, I want them here tonight. Just bring them here tonight because we're leaving. She says, you're what? I said, I'm leaving. Stacy told me to take my kids and run. So I did. That night, I sold a vehicle that I had for cash, and I packed up my minivan, and I took my kids and I left. And the funny thing is all the way through Oregon, it was really thick fog that rolled in that night. You couldn't see anything. And so I made it out of Oregon without a problem. And I drove straight through all the way to California. And I went and stayed with a friend of mine for about a month and tried getting a job and tried getting help and stuff. And I wasn't really getting anywhere. And so I decided to move further south where I'm originally from. And Stacy Johnson the entire time was messaging me, texting me. I have them all still on my phone. And she actually had the pictures of the boys on the beach because she asked, are they okay? I said, yeah, because we finally don't have to look over our shoulder and be concerned about him showing up. We're safe. We're broke as hell, but we're happy and we're safe. I'd been gone from January to April 22nd. April 22nd was the day that I actually was hired for a job. I found a rental. I found a roommate. And both of my boys were working too. We were all going to work different shifts so that nobody ever was with Jack other than us. Tyler was registered in school. We were starting a life again. And turns out Stacy Johnson set me up and turned me in so that she can get a promotion, which she did. She told the police where I was. My ex-husband's attorney, Alex Stivey, put in the paperwork for my warrant that I was known to flee and was violent.
Oh, my God.
Taken into custody. I was sitting in my minivan. I just dropped off Tyler at work, and I was picking up Tim from work, and we were going to go back to our hotel. And Jack is sitting in the car seat just behind my seat, and I have TV screens in my car. And we're watching Jake and the Neverland Pirates on TV. And Jack tells me this is the last thing he said to me. He said, Mommy, I'm tired. And he said, when we get done picking up Tim, can we go home and take a nappy? I said, sure, sweetie. Mommy will take a nappy with you too. He goes, I love you, Mom. I said, I love you too, Cuddlebug. Just after he said this, screen's still playing. It's hot outside, so I have the car on with AC going. And Tim had about 10 more minutes before he got off work. I see this man come and stand in front of my car, and he was just doing some awkward kind of behavior that I noticed. And then he stepped out in front of the car, and he's on his cell phone, and right away I was like, something's not right. I can't leave my other 2 children. I wasn't going to flee because I won't leave my other children. All 3 of my kids are equally important. I turned my head because I saw emotion on the side of me, and there's a police officer with a gun to my head through the glass. This is the last time my son Jack saw me, was with the police officer pointing a gun towards his mother's head. I was taken into custody. They took Jack and put him in foster care. They took Tyler from his work and put him in foster care and left him stranded. My ex-husband showed up the very next day and took Jack. Never checked on Tyler, never asked if Tyler's okay, where he's going, who he's with, left his own son literally stranded in California, took Jack and flew back to Washington. I called my mother with my one phone call from jail and said, you have to go get my boy. She couldn't get a flight out, so she took a train, which took almost 2 days for her to get there. My friends from California all pulled together and helped my kids and helped my mom to do anything they needed to do until I went through the next few court hearings in California. I'd never been arrested before. California was so different compared to what I went through in Washington because I was extradited from California to Washington. I was in the San Luis Obispo County Jail for almost a month. And then here's the thing. The officer in Cowlitz County, Washington, who had been receiving the police reports from Tyler's situation, was putting him in the shredder the entire time. Had also, since then, become very good friends, personal friends, with my ex-husband. He's the one who flew down to California to pick me up. And on the way back, he was just insulting me left and right, and I was like, it was all kind of coming together. I really didn't understand all of it, but it was coming together. They flew me back to Washington, Portland, so I flew into Portland PDX. Then they drove a car from there, a police car, to Cowlitz County, Washington. And when I was in California, I was in a cell with 27 other women, 2 of which they were in jail waiting trial for murder, doing up to 25 years. Women who were in there for methamphetamines, women who were in there for abuse, theft, things like that. And when they took me into custody, their first question was, do you have any gang affiliation? He looks me up and down. He goes, PTA, Parents Teachers Association. I said, yeah, pretty much. And he's reading through my paperwork, and this intake officer, he says, who the hell has it out for you? None of this makes sense. I said, no shit. None of it makes sense. I'm trying to protect my child. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm in jail because of it. So I was there, like I said, for a while, and then this other officer came and picked me up and flew me back. When I got to Cowlitz County, Washington, as soon as I came in, because I'd been gone for 3 months, I was happy with my kids. You know, we spent days where me and my boys, we would have a learning day and a fun day. That's how we did it every day, because I always spend time with my children that way. So on fun days, we would go to the beach and we'd look for natural X's on the ground. We'd play Jake and the Neverland Pirates. We'd dig up treasure. And Tyler and Jack, this is their favorite thing. They'd run all over the beach doing this all day long. Jack would catch butterflies and ladybugs, and we just loved spending time with each other. We finally felt safe. All this is yanked from all of us. So my mom drove the car back with my boys to her house in Oregon, and I was sent to Cowlitz County, Washington. And within an hour of me being taken into custody in Cowlitz County, I noticed it was very different than California. California went by the book, and California have followed the rules. They have lots of people enforcing the rules. Cowlitz County, Washington, as soon as I came through the metal doors, there was a woman there named Jill Fuller. Jill Fuller looked me up and down. She goes, where are you coming from? I said, San Luis Obispo, California. She instantly got extremely aggressive with me. I have a spinal injury. I had a head-on car accident about 15 years ago. And so I have herniated discs and all kinds of other issues. So when people start shoving and poking at me, it really causes me a lot of pain and issues. She was just yanking at my clothes, trying to pull my clothes off of me. I said, you don't need to do that. Just tell me what you want done and I'll do it. But as soon as she'd heard that I was from California, she was just pissed and hateful towards me. She's yanking at my clothes, my pants, my everything, and there's men standing there. Male guards, male officers, male inmates. She didn't care. And that's when I noticed this is way, way different than whatever I went through in California. I also have food allergies, which have tried killing me multiple times. So I have to pay attention to everything that I eat. I have a very small diet because of it. And Cowlitz County, Washington, this woman, Jill, she took all my clothes from me. And she goes, oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And I'm like, what the hell is she doing? Is something wrong with this lady? She basically faked a situation where she would have grounds to take all of my clothes from me, put me in a cell, butt naked, and leave me there. She stated I had commented to her that I felt like killing myself every single day.
Nah.
My response was, I'm not suicidal. I'm pissed off. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
So I'm within 2 hours of being into the state of Washington, I'm stripped naked. I'm shoved around, and I'm put into a cell that has a window cut out in the door. Naked. And she says, you're going to stay there until psych comes to see you. I said, you know, fuck it. You've taken everything else from me. What more can you take?
Yeah, the clothes off your back, literally.
So you leave me standing here naked, and there's male guards walking past the door looking in. There's male inmates walking past the door looking in. And I'm like, it can't get any worse. This is just fucking awesome. And I am not a vulgar speaking person, but I had been pushed to such a point there. You've taken everything from me that I've worked my ass off for 20 plus years. And now you take my children, expect me to be like, oh, no, it's cool. Oh, hell no. I turned into a raving bitch for the next few hours. And
she had every right to, by the way, you know? Yeah.
She would walk by just super smug, like, are you happy now? Are you comfortable now? And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I could play this game. So I went, yeah, I'm great. I'm fabulous. And she left me there for about 5 hours, naked. Nothing. No sheets, no nothing. And, cold, nasty, dirty cement. And when the psych person showed up, the psychologist, she pulled me out and she says, give her a blanket. God, what the hell is wrong with you people? And I'm like, oh, finally, somebody still has some kind of ethics and a moral compass. So shakes me out. She says, do you feel suicidal? I said, no, I'm pissed off. There's a big damn difference. She goes, why are you even here? Yeah. And I explained to her what I've gone through, what they did to me, how I got here, trying to protect my child. And the psychologist for this county says, I hate this fucking place. I said, well, that makes two of us. She ordered the guards to give me clothes and put me in a proper cell. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm finally shoved into a cell with women who are detoxing from methamphetamines. And I'm just appalled and disgusted. And here, in California, they're asking me, why are you here? And I tell them, they're like, oh my God, that's horrible. In Washington, they ask me, why are you here? And they totally don't get it, because the majority of women who were in jail in Washington, well, that Cowlitz County, they were picked up for drugs. They were picked up, some of them, from the hospital after delivering a methamphetamine-addicted baby. They're more pissed about losing their stash of drugs than losing their child. They could not comprehend why I'm there. So for years, because of my injuries, I suffer from chronic migraines. And my migraines get so bad, sometimes I am vomiting by the 30 where I can't even keep down water. That's usually when I would go to the ER and get injections to make it stop so that I can function again. Well, being here in the jail, it caused me to have a migraine. And I had all my medication brought with me. They refused to give me any of it. And after me getting sick and getting sick and getting sick, and then the vomiting just kept going. It wouldn't stop. It triggered a genetic issue that I didn't know I had called gastroparesis, which is a stomach issue which makes you throw up for no reason at all. You can have an empty stomach, it'll make you throw up. You can have a full stomach, it'll make you throw up. So I was vomiting nonstop for 14 days.
My God.
And I'm begging them to let me please go see a doctor. Please, I need to see a doctor. If you won't give me medication, let me go see a doctor. They took me on the 4th day to go see a doctor. And as soon as I got in, the guard that took me was like, oh, she's just detoxing. I said, what does that mean? He goes, you know exactly what it means. I said, no, I'm sorry. I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? He goes, well, you've got green throw up in the bucket. He goes, obviously you're detoxing. I said, from what? I said, I have a fucking migraine that I've had for days. If you guys would have listened to anything that I've said at all, you would know this. He takes me to the hospital, like humoring me as if I'm playing this game on him. And he gets there and he comes to find out not only am I not detoxing because I don't take anything, I have a migraine, I've got gastroparesis, and I've got a urinary tract infection. So they give me medication for the urinary tract infection, but they didn't give me medication for the vomiting for it to stop. So I go back to the cell. They put me in the medical ward, and I'm in there, and I'm exhausted, just exhausted. And I had gotten a little bit of peace from the injections they gave me for the vomiting to stop. So for about 24 hours, I was just breathing and not vomiting. I was just as happy as can be because all the days up to that, cellmates on both sides of me through these cylinder block walls are calling for the medics and anybody else. They're like, you need to help her. Somebody needs to do something. They're yelling, ma'am, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not fucking okay. This is days, for days that this happened before the medical. So I got to go in. I was seen. I was sent back to the cell. This time I had clothes, though, thank goodness. And then about 3 o'clock in the morning, they put this woman in the cell with me. I heard the door open and then close. And I could hear somebody walking past me. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't let this be something bad. Because I'm in a cell with just one other person now. The woman they put in the cell with me, for the first time through all of this experience, I was scared to death of. Because she says, who are you? She's like in my face over my bunk. And I said, my name is Davida. She goes, what's that? And I said, my name is Davida. She introduced herself as Satan, but told me I could call her Lucifer. I was like, fuck this. Ah! So I'm over on the buzzer, pounding on the wall, get me the hell out of here, because she's telling me, I don't like you. And I'm like, holy shit, this woman is crazy. And this is not how I'm going to die. This is not how I'm going to die. And so I'm hitting that buzzer over and over and over again. 20 minutes of this goes by before he finally comes to the door. He's like, I'm on my rounds. What the hell do you need? I said, I don't care where you stick me, but you're not sticking my ass back in a room with Satan or whatever the hell she wants to call herself. Chain me to the fucking table if you have to. Put me in a closet. I don't give a shit, but you're not sticking me back in there with her. He handcuffed me to this metal picnic table that was in the main quad area until he was done with his rounds. I said, fine, I don't care. Then they gave me a 2-inch mattress, which is what they had, and stuck me in another room where I was sleeping on the floor. I said, I don't care, fine. It's still better than being in a room with Satan. So
it's absurd.
For the next few weeks, I've been bounced and bounced and bounced from room to cell to cell to cell to cell. And the vomiting has come back, and I can't stop throwing up. And then Jill, the original guard, says that I am purposely making myself sick, and I am eating the food they are providing. Well, here's the fact of that. One, they're taking my blood sugar on a regular basis, coming in and pricking my finger like you do for diabetes. And it showed no marks for me having any food. My sugar marks were not rising at all because I wasn't able to eat food. I couldn't keep it down. I couldn't keep medication down. I couldn't keep even water down. Because of Jill, they rushed my cell and said that I was hiding food, destroying food, flushing food, all sorts of things. And they moved me to a dry cell. Dry cell is a room that has no toilet, no running water. It's just usually a cot. And the first room that I was in for about a week didn't even have a cot. It had a bench. I was on the floor with a plastic mattress and a bucket for me to throw up in. And I couldn't stand the smells because this place is so horrific. I'm looking around and I'm not a super germaphobe, but oh my God. I went from being a house mom to this. There's feces smeared on the walls and on the ceiling. There's bodily fluids dried everywhere. And the smell was this wretched smell of death. And the smells are making me even more sick and more sick. And I'm dry heaving because I can't even throw up anymore. And I'd ask, can I please have some water? Can I please use the phone? And I was told, fuck you, no, every time. And then it got to the point I wasn't being let out to even use the restroom, but about once every 15 hours.
Once every 15 hours?
Yes. So I wasn't being given water. I wasn't being given anything, any medical attention, anything. And I would ask, can I please take my bucket and dump it because the smell of vomit is making me throw up even more. A guard walked by, opened the door, threw some food into the bucket of vomit, which splashed up all over me.
That's disgusting.
Walked away laughing. He goes, why should show her, fucking asshole? And I'm like, really? I'm on the floor in the fetal position. I've been throwing up for weeks, and this is how you treat me? I'm like, you're such a piece of shit. I'm a human being. It got worse.
It sounds worse than Guantanamo Bay.
It got worse because Joe was friends with one of the medic people, and he would come to check my blood. And because I'd been sick for so long, my body was eating itself. I lost 32 pounds in like 3 weeks. I could feel my muscles being eaten by my body. My legs were freezing to the point where it was like ice. I couldn't even feel my body limbs anymore. They were just like ice. My fingernails were purple. My lips were purple. My stomach hurt so bad. My ribs hurt. It was horrible. And I was basically being starved to death. And I kept sending these kites, which is like a note that you send to the medic or something, and saying, could somebody please help me? And I never got any help. And the photos that are being shown, it was before my sister took that photo and after my sister took that photo too. And I didn't realize how bad I was until my sister broke down and started crying when she saw me. Anyhow, this went on for a very long time. And I finally got a message to one of the supervising guards there and told him this Jill person is assaulting me every time she sees me. She threw food at me the other day. She slammed my finger in the door, actually popped one of my fingernails completely off and shattered another one. I said, I'm in fear of what she's going to do to me. Please help me. He waited a couple days, and then he finally did something where she was no longer allowed to come to my cell. But she sure had a lot of friends who made up the difference. And before she was taken off of being able to handle any of my issues, she came to my cell and woke me up because I was literally in the fetal position trying to stay warm. I couldn't feel my legs anymore. Whenever I would hit the buzzer to call anyone, I don't have a stutter, but because of my starvation for so long, I started to stutter. And that's when I went, oh my God, my body is eating itself. And when I would call for help, they would make fun of my stutter and hang up on me. You don't know how it got. So this Jill person, she shows up this one day with a medic to take my blood pressure. And I said, what's the point? You're not giving me medical attention. You're not helping me to stop vomiting. What is the point? And she started screaming at me. And that's when I looked to her side because her hand was a little awkward. She had her taser gun out. She was preparing to taser me over taking my blood pressure. And here I'm barely walking anymore. My legs are giving out. And I had to walk out of the cell, through another room, down another corridor, all the way over there just to have my blood pressure taken, to him to say, yeah, your blood pressure is low. My blood pressure was not even registering most of the time because it was so low. My organs are hurting. I wasn't allowed to use the phone. I wasn't allowed to have visitors. And one of these nights where I'm banging on the cell door, very quietly knocking, because I had to use the bathroom. And a guard comes, very nice guard. I can't remember what his name was. I wish I would have gotten it. And he says, can I help you? I said, can I please use the bathroom? He says, sure. I went out, I went to the restroom, and I let her close the door. So there's male guards and male convicts who can see me peeing. And there's no soap. There's no anything. So I go into there. I don't want to touch anything because one of the toilets in there was literally purple with decay.
Yes.
And there's stuff all over the place. And I'm just like, I was just terrified. Going, this should have never happened. I'm a mom, and I'm a good mom. I'm trying to save my children. Why is this happening? And I'm walking back from the bathroom when this guard let me use the restroom, and I said, thank you. And he just looked at me like, that's so weird because people here don't have manners. And he says, wait. Why are you even here? And I just kind of slunk back over with my head down, and I explained to him what had happened to me, and I end up here. He goes, oh my God, that is such bullshit. And I said, yeah, because do you use drugs or anything? I said, no, I don't do any of that. I don't smoke. I drink so rarely, it doesn't even come up on the marker. 1 glass of wine a year that usually I break out in hives because of. No, I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke weed. I don't do drugs. I don't have a criminal record. I'm just a mom trying to protect her children. He goes, how come you don't have somebody coming to help you? I said, because I'm not allowed to use the phone. He takes the cordless phone that is their phone that inmates are not allowed to use, and he hands it to me. He says, call whoever you want. I just broke down, started crying. I said, thank you so much. I said, no, I'm serious. Thank your mother, too. He goes, what? I said, because you wouldn't have a kind heart if you didn't have a kind mother. Thank you, mother. And he started to cry. He goes, honey, what else do you need? I said, I just want to call my mom. He goes, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't care. I called my mother and I explained to her what's going on. She was appalled because while she's calling the jail, asking them, I want to talk to my daughter, and they're saying she's not available, they're telling her, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong with me. And I tell my mom, that's completely the opposite of the bullshit you're hearing. She went to my public defender, and he was leaving town for a couple of days. So he's like put out about it. She went to his supervisor. His supervisor came and met me at the jail. I told him what was going on, and he pulled an emergency hearing right away because they were killing me. So my mom got me out on emergency medical. And for 18 days, I was supposed to be receiving Ensure cans.
Yeah, just for the
it's like a nutrient supplement, usually for elderly who can't get.
Or for people who are very, very ill, they have these little bottles called Ensure, and it has vitamins, and it's like a yogurt type of drink, right?
Yeah, kind of like that. I was supposed to be getting 2 a day, but because the guard who was in the medic was friends with Jill, I was receiving 1 4-ounce container a day. And I would have to beg for it even to get it. And some days I didn't get it. But this is on order for me to receive these. And then the last day that I'm leaving, to make himself look good when the sergeant was there, that medic brings the containers again. I said, don't bother. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, I'm leaving. He goes, how the hell are you leaving? I said, because you guys are killing me. I got out on emergency medical. The judge just signed the order. I don't have to deal with this crap anymore. So there's no need for you to come and take my blood pressure, see how quickly y'all are killing me. I'm good. So they proceeded to really stall out. It took almost 3 hours to sign my paperwork to get me out. The jail itself, when the judge had already signed the paperwork. My mom was outside the building. And on the way out of the building, I was just terrified that they're going to stop for any reason and make me stay. Because while I was there, they actually killed another person, another inmate, and covered it up.
Oh, my God.
there was a man that was brought in. I heard it all from my cell. He was brought in, and he was not very responsive to their orders, and they kept threatening to taser him. But they were rushing him through faster than they rushed anybody else through for intake because there was a game on TV that they all wanted to sit and watch. They sent out one of the other guards to go pick up fast food, I believe was Taco Bell, and so they rushed this guy through everything, not even paying attention that this man was probably having a stroke or mild heart attacks through the process. He came in with another person. I heard all this from my cell. So they're watching the game, and while they're watching the game, I heard them turn down their radios because they didn't hear the staticky sounds anymore because they wanted to watch the game. This man died, and they could not get a response out of him because they watched the damn game. But the worst part of it is after all of this happened, I heard them cover everything up. Before the medics were even showing up to the jail, they ran around like crazy cleaning everything up because there was feces and crap everywhere. Then the person, after they took the body away and he was pronounced dead, the person he was brought in with, I heard them pull him out of his cell and go talk to him in another room. They offered to let him take all of the cash that they came in with as long as he kept his mouth shut. I heard all of this, and I'm laying there just terrified. They let him go. I heard the big roller door go up. It's really loud metal. And then I heard the main person who was in charge say, you know, something didn't seem right. Go back and get him. And then I heard people on foot running. They went and caught this man and drug him back, and I never saw him again. And my thing is, all to watch a game. They cover all of this up to watch a damn game.
That jail is outrageous. You know, needs to get shut down.
Thing is before this man died, he wanted to make his one phone call. He kept asking and asking and asking, and they were so put out, but they finally let him make a call. And I heard his phone call to his wife. He told her, don't worry about anything, honey. I'm okay. I just want to call you and tell you I love you, and I'll be out tomorrow, and I'll see you soon. Just don't worry, okay? And I kept hearing him say this, and I love you. And okay, honey, I love you. And then he hung up. And I've thought about that since I was released. That poor woman. So I got out in June, last June. And my mom, she wanted to sit there and talk. I said, no. Leave now, because they can come out and they can change their mind. Get the hell out of here now. I'm just shaking. So my mom backs out and takes off. And once we get onto I-5 and we're out of the county lines, I just broke down and told her everything that had happened. She's like, oh my God. I said, you need to just take me to the hospital. So we go to the hospital, and I was hospitalized because my organs were shutting down. I was actually hospitalized 4 times in the last year because my pancreas wasn't working right and it was shutting down. I had kidney failure another time. I had sepsis, which is a blood infection that went to my heart another time. My immune system is now crap. And my anxiety is through the roof because my child is with my abuser. I've not seen my son since the day he was taken by gunpoint. And
how long has it been?
It's been 17 months now. My ex-husband went back in front of the original judge, and the original judge put a full restrainer against me and my entire family, including my other children. My ex-husband is the abuser, the documented abuser. They wouldn't enforce my restraining orders for fear and for assault, but they give him one against my entire family. We're Jack's only actual biological family because he was from a donor. Yet my ex-husband has him. And my 2 sons now, they're both with me, Tim and Tyler. And we've all had to find out by trial and error that we all have PTSD.
Of course.
We can't be around small children without breaking down and crying. We all have horrific nightmares of something horrible being done to Jack, and we can't get to him. We can't save him. I've had a recurring nightmare since the day I left my ex-husband. I'm not sure if anybody knows of the Winchester Mystery House. It's a house in San Jose, California. There's rooms that go to nowhere. You have to look it up. Winchester Mystery House. Basically, my nightmare every night is that I am in a home that I can feel is my ex-husband's. I've never been there before. And I'm trying to escape. And he finds me and he beats the hell out of me and he lets other people rape me. And then he does too. And I'm just trying to get out. I try to hide and it never works. I have the same dream all the time. But once they took Jack, now Jack's in the dream. I'm trying to find Jack and get us both out. And I can literally, in my dreams, I can feel his hands on me, choking me. I can feel his fist hitting me, and I wake up literally crying. And I've never had that happen before, where you actually wake up because you're sobbing in your sleep. This happens so much that I wake up crying for my child. My sister has had children since Jack's been taken. My brother's had children since Jack's been taken. And Jack knows none of these people. He knows no one. And I'm being forced now. I just finished my third psych exam. The first two, they refused to even accept or read. I supplied 3.8 pounds just in evidence that I pulled from every psychiatrist, every physician, pediatricians, photographs, police reports, everything. I submitted it all at once. They won't even read it. They put a new guardian ad litem on a case named Jan Galliman. She never even met me. And she already wrote up her report after she met with my ex-husband and his new wife, saying that I am controlling. Now I'm not emotionally poisonous. Now I'm controlling. And I should not have any contact with my child. He's best suited to be raised by my ex-husband and his new bride. And that's fucking crap. I'm his mother. It took me 2 years to even get pregnant with him. I went through hell with the pregnancy. He was taken out of me by emergency C-section because he was stuck. His cranial cavity fused before it was supposed to, and his neck was tipped until to the side. So for the first 7 months of this little baby's life, I took him all the way up to Seattle Children's Hospital for the craniofacial department to make sure my child's okay. I took him to physical therapy as a newborn. I breastfed my baby. I loved him. I sang to him. I taught him everything. When he was in preschool, he was tested. He tested out first month of preschool at first grade level because I spent time with my child. And now I'm not allowed to have any contact with my child at all. And it is killing me. And I'm still fighting. I look constantly for any little door that I might be able to use to get open. But they took everything from me. I'm $9,000 in debt, in collections, mind you, for attorney fees. And I have a restraining order against me. I now have a misdemeanor conviction because I should have gone to trial over what I did because it was custodial interference is what they called it. And Stacy Johnson, before she was actually found out to be working her own little spiel on the side, contacted me and said, Davida, if you don't take a plea and you get convicted of a felony, you'll never see your child again. This is what she told me. But the reality is she just didn't want to be found out. She was found out months later. But based on her input, I took the plea deal and I was convicted of a misdemeanor. And I haven't seen my child since. Actually, since he was taken, not since the misdemeanor. And I put myself into full-time school for psychology because it comes very easy to me. to go into a special field for children's advocacy. Because I'm not necessarily saying it's mother's rights or father's rights. My concern is children's rights. My children should have never had to go through what they've gone through.
And neither should you have. And neither should you have. What's happened to you, what you just shared, is like pure and unadulterated hell. I mean, there's no words for it. This sounds like
I'm
Auschwitz.
You're done.
Yeah.
I'm slowly coming back to stuff, but I have medical appointments regularly. I see a counselor 1 to 3 times a week, depending on how bad my week is for anxiety. I'm on Xanax only as needed. When I can't pull myself out of this, I have to sedate myself and kind of reboot everything. One of my girlfriends, AJ, she tells me all the time, she goes, Davida, you have had your ass handed to you more times than I can count. She goes, but one thing I can always say about you, you always get back up. I told her, I said, because my children are worth it. My children don't deserve this. And until my children are safe, I'm going to keep getting my ass handed to me as many times as it takes until my children are safe. Thing is, even if Jack's not with me, but he's with somebody who loves him and is safe and protected, I would sleep like a normal person. So here I'm this supposedly bad, horrific, poisonous control freak of a mother. But let me explain to you what my other children are like. Timothy is 24 years old. He attends Western Washington University. When he was 16 years old, he had cancer. And when he was healing from it, he caught meningitis, which gave him seizures. And the first seizure that hit him when he was away at college knocked out 19 years of his memory.
What?
Yeah, he remembers nothing of his childhood. So he only remembers the last 5 years. And he is working on his bachelor's degree for 2 different languages. He's also going on to medical school for alternative medicine. This is not a bad person. This is a very educated, very good person. And he can't be around children either because he breaks down. So his distraction is school. That's Tim. Tim also, he's not one to be running around her. He's never been suspended. He's never even had detention. The most he ever did, he was grounded by me. Tyler was horribly abused by his dad. He went through bouts of ocular migraines where you have kaleidoscope vision. He's had concussions. He's had traumatic brain injuries. He's had massive abuse by his father. And Tyler still gets up and pushes through. Tyler just got his GED. He's signed up for college classes in the winter term. And he just got his driver's license and he just bought his first car. Tyler is a great kid. Tyler doesn't date. He is terrified of ending up with something like I've ended up with. And both of my children actually, both of the boys, they say they don't want to get married. They don't want to have children because they're scared to death of this happening to them. And I've been fighting with them to not let this ruin them too.
Yeah, it causes major
Jack was taken. It does. I don't trust anyone at all. I don't let anybody really close to me because the closer people are to me, like Stacy, that really got me good. I really put a lot of trust in her that she was going to help me save my children because she works for CPS. And she wasn't doing that for her. She was just doing it for promotion, which she got. And I believe now she's been promoted from Cowlitz County to the Tacoma area. So she got what she wanted, and she has a bigger paycheck at the expense of my child. Good for her. And if you look at my KOS news report where it's written down, women suffers abuse, look down in the very bottom where it gives people sections to comment. Stacey Johnson left a comment there. Me and Davida are great friends. You should contact her. This woman's audacity is just dumbfounding, to say the least. All for money. So for CPS in Cowlitz County, you're children are they check. So I contacted the police officer who took the original report in McMinnville, Oregon. Detective Fessler was his name. And he finally printed out a report for me specifically showing me how many times he has sent out the police report to CPS and to the local police department there in Cowlitz County. Who he sent it to, how many times he sent it to them, and the dates that he actually sent it. Oh, and how. Cowlitz County CPS has received Tyler's report for abuse 7 times. 7. And they have never once actually looked into it.
All right. Well, this jail needs to be shut down. That's number one. I have a whole list here. I took notes of all the people that need to be prosecuted because of the crimes that have been committed against you and your children, starting with your ex. That's number one, because he has arranged a whole army of demons to go after you somehow. I don't know what this man is up to. Maybe he's into voodoo or something, but it ain't anything pretty. The guardian ad litem, the first one you talked about, what was her name again?
Amy Wade.
Amy Wade?
Yes.
We got Amy Wade, we got your ex-husband, we got Stacy Johnson, who is now promoted at CPS because she ratted you out and betrayed you.
Yeah.
And gave your hiding location away to the police.
When she's the one that told me to run.
We got the officer who put a gun to your head in front of your boy, your 4-year-old boy in the back of the car. What was his name?
I didn't catch his name, but he took a souvenir from me too, because this was a big sting they did. He took my glasses. And I'm like, really? Now I can't see. So the whole time I was in jail, I was asking, can somebody please find my glasses? They were on my head when I was arrested. Yeah, he took a souvenir.
Then we got Jill Fuller, the prison guard, the sadistic prison guard who's outed right here now on Hells for Children. We got the jail that needs to be shut down, and then we got the new guardian ad litem, and her name is?
Jan Gelman.
Jan Gilliman. All these individuals need to get sued, and you need to get millions of dollars in damages. Not that it will ever erase or delete the experience that you and your children have gone through, but this entire story is so outrageous. Oh my God. If there's anyone watching right now who can help Davida with this case, I would really like it if you're going to contact me, or how can people get in touch with you, Davida?
My email is attached to The Woman Suffers Abuse. It's on the bottom. It's abavida, 3 at Gmail.
Okay, so everybody go to this article here and go to the bottom. You need a kick-ass attorney who is going to start a huge civil rights case for you, and go after all these individuals one by one. I also want to bring the attention to the viewers to the fact that when you came out of jail, you were really smart, and you actually recorded your experience on YouTube. It's over here. If you go to this title, if you go onto YouTube and you just type in Injustices and then Zen Leohart, you will see an 1.5-hour detailed jailhouse experience that Davida has, summarized here for us in about 20 minutes. But here you get the extended version. I actually watched it, and I just sat through it and cried. And, I just want to, I know you don't trust anybody anymore, but I want to reach out through the screen and just hug you because you've been through too much. I mean, just what your son has gone through with his medical issues and his meningitis, that is a whole lifetime worth of difficulties. But if you add everything that you've gone through, you and your children, it's incomprehensible that one human being can suffer this much and this to this extent, and then and because of sadistic people. I mean, you've just been dealing with sadistic psychopaths, one after the other, who have torn you apart. But I'm just so impressed that you're still alive, first of all.
I am too.
You're going to school, for crying out loud, and then you're studying psychology. Yeah, let's get to the bottom of why people are like this.
I've taken philosophy courses too on ethics and morality, and my views are very different than they used to be. Before all this destruction, I was like very caring, very considerate, very loving towards anybody, and now my give a damn is gone. It really is. I protect my core group fiercely, and I really distance myself from everyone. Not many people know anything about me because I put on tons of cover-up to cover my big black circles, and I get dressed and I get up every day and pretend to be part of the normal functioning crowd. But I can't drive past schools. I can't go to shopping centers. I can't even walk through a toy section without breaking down. And I don't do that because I don't want to frighten other people's children by me being the crazy lady who starts crying every time she sees something.
We all have that. I have that too, and all the protective mothers have that. We cannot be around children. That's just the way it becomes for all protective mothers. It triggers too much grief, and we have to function somehow. We have to go to work and
control functioning.
Yeah. You have to kind of consciously dissociate, I guess, from that. But you are capable of handling your emotions, though, because you're able to allow the feelings to feel the feelings, which I think is really awesome. Because I also know protective moms who get really numb or become completely bitter. If you're able to cry, if you're able to feel the emotion, that means that with all the damage that's been done to you, your core is still intact, and the lifeline with that divine source that's enabling you to do that is your children. This is the bind that, in a sense, we are in, right? We have to keep it together because eventually our children are going to be, reconnecting with us, and at that point, we have to somehow stay whole.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's very hard. It's like the best I could explain to it for people who haven't had their children taken from them is when we first started seeing video footage of Afghanistan after being bombed, where it's just rubble. There may have been this beautiful city there at one point in time, but now all it is rubble with some blood splatter here and there. That's what I am. I'm walking rubble. I'm total devastation. I'm a shell of a person that gets up and still tries to find a crack in a door that's going to bring my child home. And I will keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And I just, some days though, when I get knocked down, I got to take a couple days to myself to cry it out, scream it out, whatever I got to do, and then get my fight back. But this is the most god-awful pain. I would never wish this on someone.
Yeah, it's a full-on war, and you're on the front lines, and you've been suffering the most horrific human rights violations. Your story is definitely one of the worst, if not the worst, I've heard. Do you have an attorney at the moment?
No, I don't. I've seen 11 attorneys in the last year asking them for help with Jack, and they all want about $30,000. I had everything taken from me. I don't have $30,000.
All right, let me share. I'm going to share my screen and show people the petition that you have going. This is also a place where people who can possibly help who are watching this, whether it's live or on the YouTube recorded version, please go to this petition, put your signature on there, and contact Davida. She needs help. She needs money for an attorney. Or guess what? We really need an attorney with a heart, and an attorney who says, you know what this lady has gone through is beyond even, anything you can imagine. The suffering is just way, way, way beyond anything that anyone should ever have to deal with. And take on the case. Take on the case pro bono. Come on, everybody. Get this lady a pro bono attorney, okay? Help her get Jack back, because this is ridiculous what's going on here. And beyond ridiculous,
on the front.
It's outrageous.
The photo on the front is Jack. That's when I took him to the zoo. He was showing me how lions roar. And, I'm a hands-on mom that takes my kids to museums and just loves them to death, but teaches them how to be independent, strong people and how to stand up for others. This is not a mom that should be losing her kids. And I don't mean any offense by any means to any of the other mothers out there. I'm not an addict. I'm not an abuser. I have not had a history of any of this stuff. I'm a house mom that teaches my kids how to be good people. My rules are for one of two reasons: to keep you safe or make you a better person. That's literally how I base all of my rules towards my kids on. And it shows, my kids are a direct reflection of my parenting. My two older boys that I've been allowed to keep by begging, pleading, and fighting for them is a direct reflection of who I really am. The court should never be about who they like the best, or if they didn't like your outfit that day or your personality, if you sounded defensive. Of course I'm going to sound defensive. They're my children. I'm supposed to defend them. I'm supposed to protect them. That is my job. But in the court system nowadays, you are attacked for doing that. You're attacked for showing emotion or love or caring or consideration. You are told not to show any emotion. How the hell can you do that when your children are your life?
Yeah, and then there's mothers who show emotion or no emotion, and they get punished for that, right? Well, you're not showing any emotion. So what are you're showing emotion, you get punished. But if you don't show emotion, you get punished. So it's like we can never win. And I have people commenting on the announcements of my show, usually men, but also women, and saying it's not a gender issue. Well, you know what? I would like to hear any fathers who've gone through this level of abuse. It's mostly mothers, what I see. And it's, it's not about a gender thing, fathers against mothers. Fathers suffer horrible things too in family court. Your point is excellent. The evidence is not getting looked at. It's just, what the judge feels like that day. Or they make up their minds and they vilify one of the parents, and then all the professionals will just eat that particular parent alive. And like I said, it's usually moms, but even your own attorney will turn against you.
My own attorney that I had briefly refused to submit any of my evidence because he said, the judge just hates you. All you're going to do is piss him off. I said, I don't give a damn if the judge hates me. If he hates me, then he's taking it personal. Yeah. And he's supposed to be an unbiased judge who's fair. So if you're not going to submit this, then what the hell is wrong with you? You need to be pushing for a different judge. Well, he didn't bother to do his job, and so he finally just walked away because I wasn't worth anything.
My attorney did the same thing. She said to me, the weather report of your judge, you know what she's like, so you don't have a chance in hell. It's like, well, what's this about then? So I'm going to appear in front of a judge who's already made up her mind and spend, sell my house and spend every last dime I have and go $60,000 in debt to go in front of a woman to try and protect my child who's already made up her mind to give the child to the abuser. Then if you protest it, you stand the chance of getting jailed, right? Because if you run, which is what I did too, then you end up in jail. So let's share the screen here, and I'll show the moms here on my website here, freejasmine.com. Over here under these tabs, you can see the jailed section. And here are some moms who are currently in jail or who have been in jail. It's an entire list. that you can go through. This woman over here, Erin Eddies, actually, she works for the State Department. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're from or what your status is in society. You're just going to end up in jail. We got Jen Goodwin over here who lost custody to her ex, who was a convicted murderer. And she ended up in jail trying to protect her child. These are all clickable links. You can click on them. It'll take you to the stories of these particular moms. A new window will open up with their story. And your story is on here as well. And it's if you click on it, it'll take you to the Daily Cost article that I shared over here. Now, the other thing that I want to suggest is that we all sue CPS. And they're also called the Department of Child and Family Services. We got it going on over here. If you go to my timeline, I made this post public right before the show because this is actually a bombshell over here that I'm sharing. It's a federal lawsuit that was just filed against CPS. Share it, download it before the petitioners who put it out there on the internet are gagged and this is removed. Use it as a template, fill in your own information, just copy paste and put in your own name and the names of your kids and go after CPS. Let's massively go after CPS. It is the Gestapo worldwide. I have no other word for it. What they're doing and the amount of kids they're removing, let's get into that for a second. The amount of kids they're removing from loving parents, and now I'm talking mothers and fathers, is beyond anything other than a full-on Holocaust. If you scroll down on my reflection page over here, you can see some numbers here. These are all clickable links. They'll take you to source data. In the United States, 1 out of every 25 kids is placed in foster care. In Australia, we're talking about 50,000 children a year removed by CPS. In the Netherlands, which is a tiny country of only 17 million people, they take per year 20,000 children, all right, for no reason whatsoever. They make up reasons if they don't have one. In the UK, we got 10,000 a year. Look at the amount of money it costs. You're paying for this with your tax money. Think about that. Every time you file for your taxes, you're actually paying for the kidnapping of children through CPS. Legalized kidnapping is what it is. It's the same thing as what happened in my story. It's happening at a global scale. Here are some numbers here. Australia, Finland, Canada. You can see that this issue is worldwide. It's a kids for cash, child trafficking, revenue machine that's generating $3 trillion a year. I want to see this all over the mainstream media news, in all the newspapers. I cannot think of anything that's more important than this, frankly. And you hear it here on Hell's for Children on CCN TV. We need to see this in every media outlet. This needs to be the number one priority. Let's go over here. And on my Free Jasmine from Court Ordered Abduction Facebook page, you will see a database here with the children that die horrible, gruesome deaths as a result of being taken from their parents by CPS. This is a full-on Holocaust, people. We can click on it. If my bandwidth is good enough, it will open up. You can go through this database. I think it's really, really important that we start these databases all over the world and bring them together and bring this to the attention of lawmakers. Your son, Tyler, survived it. Thank God. But look at all these children here. This list goes on and on and on. So hundreds and hundreds of children dying at the hands of CPS. We must stop this, everybody. We must stop this. CPS needs to get abolished worldwide. This is nothing but a Gestapo child crime, mafia organization. It has nothing to do with protecting children.
On that, it's like years ago, back in the 50s, there used to be the Catholic churches that had this baby selling thing. They had the market on that, where they were taking children because they had all of those pregnant girls' homes. They would take the babies from there and they would sell them. So they were profiting off of children. This is no different from that, except our government now is taking the children and selling them off. It's not what comes from our womb, our body, our choice is not their right to take and sell. It is our right to protect and love and raise and, for the betterment of our children. It is not somebody else's right to say, well, I feel that granted you are the biological parent to this child, and granted you weren't really doing anything wrong, but I'm going to take this child and give him somebody else instead because they want it more. It's not their right to make this decision. And if children generally are being abused, they always have family that is not abusive. But they don't want to place the children with a family because they don't make that much money off of them. A friend of mine, her daughter has got addiction issues. And after a year and a half of my friend Ann, she called in to CPS to say, hey, you need to do something. I can't do anything without your help. They finally removed the children. And Ann stepped up and says, I will take my grandkids happily to make sure they're safe. They went to Ann's house, says, well, your house is not set up for these extra children, so we're putting them in foster care. They won't even let the grandmother take the child because there's no money in it when the family takes care of the children.
Let's talk about that money issue because that's what I'm, as you're speaking here, I found another post that I have here on my Free Jasmine from Court-Ordered Abduction.
Social Security, that's exactly what I was going to go to next. It is just because we all have Social Security numbers. Once we have a Social Security number, we are worth money. Our children are worth money. And as soon as that infant is born and has an SS number, it is now valuable. Valuable to the state, valuable to CPS, and this is how they make their money. The more children that get placed in non-family situations, the more money goes into the funding for CPS. This is what do they call that? When where they just traffic babies? This is what they're doing.
It's pure slave trade. The children are the new slaves. Here you have the Social Security Act 473A. If you click on this link, it'll take you to the new incentives for parents to, adopt children. You actually get money if you adopt children, and they will. There's another post that I have, and I'll try and find that while we talk about this. But for all the folks out there who think we're making this stuff up, go ahead and go to the SSA.gov and look at this yourself and see how much money is made through this foster care business. It is a corporation. This is nothing but the government is running a child trade corporation. And they just line it out here in public, like how much you get and the age and if you take a child that's sick, which is called medical kidnapping. If you take a child that's sick, you get more money. How about that one? Right?
There's actually a huge tax deduction that you get for adopting a child out of foster care. If you did a straight adoption from a mother who's giving up her rights to a child, you don't get this deduction. But if you adopt one from foster care, you do get this deduction. If you adopt a child who has medical needs from foster care, then you get an even bigger deduction. They have incentives for you basically to buy their children. And the thing is, the state gets kickbacks when they adopt out your kids.
Well, look how the money is doubling here from 1999 to, it's just so blatant too, right? They just blatantly put it out on their website. the money that they're making from it,
I
$43
actually
million.
read something about Hillary Clinton being linked to this. This was based on one of Hillary Clinton's petitions that she pushed, was for this funding to go into CPS, which is basically Kids for Cash. And this needs to be abolished. CPS needs to be abolished. It's selling our children for profit needs to be abolished. Protecting kids, yes, everybody should have a right to protect children. But we as parents should have that right too. And with the stories I read on a daily basis about CPS coming in and stealing people's kids from the hospital, even mind you, after you've delivered, why the hell would anybody want to go to a hospital to deliver their children now when you have that possibility of them taking your child? There was a woman in California, actually, she uses an albuterol inhaler for asthma. Well, apparently there is some kind of a chemical in there that makes it look like it's a derivative of something they use in methamphetamine. So they did a blood test on her when she went in to deliver her second child. And this is a woman who was very particular about organic food, not eating raw fish, not touching sushi, very careful about making sure her pregnancy is as healthy as can be. She used albuterol inhaler. They used that, contacted CPS, and tried to remove her child when she was delivering at the hospital. She had to be the one. It's guilty until proven innocent. She had to then prove, I was not using methamphetamines when I'm pregnant, but they've already taken your child. It's not innocent until proven guilty, like people want to say that's how the United States works. No, it is the complete opposite. It is guilty until proven innocent. And if you can't afford an attorney, you're just screwed, period, at the expense of your children.
Well, even with an attorney, you're screwed. And this is what's happening all over the world, that the attorneys are screwing us too. In many different ways. I got screwed by my attorney, Jennifer Nobbs, of Schoenberg Family Law. And here I got another, I can share my screen here. We got another mom here, Rasheen, and she got screwed by an attorney called Jennifer Anning in Marin County. These attorneys will basically take all the money that you have and then drop you 1 week before the trial. They all do the same thing. They'll work you up towards the trial. They, pretend they're doing a lot of work. They charge about $230 for an email, to just read an email. They charge about $500 an hour, and they basically don't do anything because they know they're going to drop you 1 week before the trial. And these are huge human rights violations. That's why we have Health for Children. We're going to out these people in every program. The individuals involved, we will hold each and every individual in such cases responsible for child stealing. It's just outrageous. The numbers are outrageous. There are 2 million protected mothers, and it's just a conservative estimate, currently in the United States, which means it's double or triple that number worldwide. And we're calling that mommycide now. Most of the mothers do not have the courage that you have, Davida, to come out and share their story, which I understand, because the result can be retaliation through gag orders and jail time, as we now know. And all of these links in this database are clickable links that will show stories of each and every single individual here. It'll just open up. So go ahead and go there. What I think is really important in this particular show with you is that you've explained to the audience what's going on in jail. Because that particular part of your story is something that I didn't know that jails in the United States are run at this level. It is no different from any concentration camp in World War II. The type of starvation that you went through, the lack of medical attention that you needed, the sadistic, cruel treatment that you have undergone. This show is a global show, and right here on Health for Children, you have now outed what goes on, what human rights violations are going on in women jails, and with men too, in the United States. Because here in Europe, people have a very different picture of the United States. Because we only see television shows about America, and you see flashy, glossy cities and people with swimming pools and big cars, and you think all is well. But there's a real dirty underside of the United States that I know because I've lived there for 25 years.
The reality of what the United States is now is completely different than anything somebody sees on TV. TV is this dramatized, fabulous, nice, clean, shiny, beautiful families. Everybody's got a nice, shiny car in the driveway and a beautiful pool and a wonderful house. No, that is not what the United States is.
Right. It's
that's very, very few and rare what it is anymore.
It's what they call image reputation management. I actually teach that in international communication classes, reputation management. And that's exactly what the United States is doing, reputation management by presenting a picture to the rest of the world that it's actually a democracy where people vote and everyone has money, and
That's not true either. As you can see with what's happened with our recent polls on voting. No, they let you see what they want you to see, just like a typical narcissist would. That's pretty much who's in control of our country, is they let you see the nice, pretty picture to make them look good. But the reality is something completely different than what they're showing you. Yeah. And all abused women can definitely understand this. The person you are in the home with, what they show you, this horrific, hellish life, that's your reality. When you walk outside of that home, though, we all want to be perceived as something different. But America, that is not that is not reality by any means. Right. The majority of people that I know, they fight for every little thing that they have.
Yep.
It's not what you get to see on TV. If anything, you see a more realistic view of it on a show like this or anything else that is off the basic path. Our news isn't even actual news. Where we get our news from? We get it off of the online version where people are more direct and truthful about stuff, because our news is owned by companies that want to show you the best picture versus reality. I don't watch regular TV. Most of my information comes from online because that's where I get the most truth from.
Well, that's I actually asked my my students in class. I had about 30 students in class a few weeks ago, and I asked them, like, who of you is still watching TV? None of the hands went up. Everyone's on YouTube. The entire new generation that's coming up is only on YouTube, and that's why I'm so grateful to CCN TV for allowing us to have this program, because when I got onto the scene of the protected mothers through my own tragedy, I saw thousands of protected mothers in these closed and secret Facebook groups sharing the most horrific stories, and this is how I got to know you too. You shared your daily costs article, and I clicked on it, and my God, and I realized we need to get this out to a larger public. We need to not just share this amongst each other in closed and secret Facebook groups, because it's kind of like preaching to the choir. We all know it, and yes, you can get support from it, which is great, but we really need to out this. The
one thing I want to get across to moms who are watching this, don't let what happened to me put you in fear to not fight for your kids. If anything, this has made me fight harder, because my view is they've tried killing me multiple times. I'm still here for a reason, and the reason is my child needs to be safe.
Right.
And laying in that cell where I could literally feel my body eating itself, I'm in there talking to God because that's all I've got. Why? Why are you allowing this to happen? Why am I still here? How can you don't just take me? If they're trying to kill me, why don't you just take me? And every morning that I woke up in that hellhole, I was shocked and surprised I'm still alive. The guards were even surprised I'm still alive. And I had to realize there's a reason I'm still alive. I'm here to fight for my child. And in turn, I fight for other people's children too, to tell you, no matter how much hell you've been put through, your kids are worth you getting off your ass and not feeling bad for yourself, no matter how bad it gets, and getting back up and fighting again and again and again, and getting the support that you need through other women who've gone through this. Because anytime I hear one of these even small, minuscule stories about a woman finally got her children back, that gives me that little bit of hope that I need to try again and again and again.
And you can show, you could show your children
that it's worth it.
Yeah, and once your children are grown up or at an age that they can explore the internet and they see us fight, they know we have not abandoned them, and that eventually is the seed that's planted for the healing. And what you've done today on the show, because we're out of time now, but by being so incredibly brave and courageous for sharing your story, and I know how hard that is. I know how much, it's just incredibly difficult to do, because it's so, it's like all your heartstrings are pulled while you're sharing it, because you have to re-experience it. And I cannot express to you how grateful I am for you to share your story with everyone. And that is one of the reasons you made it,
Yeah.
Because there are other mothers out there who've gone through this, who are going through this, and maybe when they watch this video, they know they're not the only one. They know where to reach out to you. And again, I want to ask the viewers to please get Davida Sanchez, an attorney who will fight for damages and fight all these individuals that we've discussed today who have inflicted this sadistic, horrific, cruel human rights violations upon her and her children, and help her get Jack back. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we will stay in touch. Yes, we will continue to fight.
Thank you.
Thank you for fighting. That's just amazing, and for pulling yourself together again, going to school and supporting your other kids and being there for them. You are an amazing, amazing mom and woman. It's an honor to know you.
Thank you. You too. It's nice to see that other people, not that they're going through what I'm going through, but they can understand, because it's really hard in a daily function. Nobody understands unless you've been here. Yeah. And it's very helpful.
Let's hope that this video is helpful for all the viewers, particularly the protected mothers who are watching, or any children who have been through this. And thank you to all the viewers for tuning in once again to Hell is for Children, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.